Hey Rebels, today's guest is one of Regina's OG street artists. If you've ever driven past Brandy's or down 13th Avenue in Cathedral neighborhood, you've probably seen some of his work. Josh Goff is one of the best known local artists in town. You can also find him at Midnight Oil Tattoo as a tattoo artist. If you haven't seen his work yet, I'm going to post links in the show notes so you can check it out and see what I'm talking about. Josh, welcome to the show.
Thanks, man.
How's it going?
Pretty good, pretty good.
I feel like we've already had an interview.
Yeah. This is like the height of the conversation now.
You're all warmed up, ready to go.
I'm ready. Awesome, man.
So, let's just jump into beer, man.
Awesome.
Today
Cool.
we're drinking Eukanot Pale Ale by Black Bridge Brewery. Have you ever had it before?
No, I haven't had it. This is all fresh to me. I'm a virgin with this, so.
A virgin?
Yes.
Well,
Not
cheers.
to drinking, but to this beer.
Not to drinking. I like that. Oh, it smells very nice.
It is. Very nice. Oh, I just took a big chug.
A big chug.
Yes.
Yeah, the description, they talk about this green pepper and crisp citrus.
Yeah, I can taste the citrus for sure.
You're really getting that green pepper character.
Oh,
Kinda like
yeah,
the
when you say that now, yeah, I can taste it like in the back of my tongue there, yeah.
green bell pepper kind of lingers, maybe a little peppery. It's not bad.
It's always interesting when people tell me like those tastes, then all of a sudden like in my monkey brain I'm like, okay, now I see what that is and that is and that is. But usually just how I process things, I'm like, oh, it's beer. But you're like my beer guide right now, so please.
I kind of treat people a little bit like guinea pigs. I'm like, I could tell you it's cigarettes, or I could tell you it's chocolate or ashtrays. Like, you can plant an idea in their mind that they'll taste that. So sometimes when we're doing like a staff tasting, it's like, shut up, don't tell me what you think it is. Let me taste it first. Because some people will be like, oh fuck, it's just like cigarette butts. And
Yeah.
like, oh, this is like mocha golden heaven.
Do you usually get those from like coffee beers, like when like I like that's like the one thing that I think I can only identify would be the coffee ones, because they seem to be so like tense. Like there's just it's like drinking a Guinness or something, you know what I mean?
Guinness I would say would be like a dry Irish stout. And I would say it's the Irish stouts that lean into that kind of
Coffee,
ashy burnt.
Oh, okay, got you. Yeah.
Over roasted maybe character. There's other styles like our oatmeal stout, which is much creamier, more chocolatey, smooth, doesn't have that ashy burnt character.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It really depends the proportion of roasted malts they're putting in the mash, and then that's what'll come out.
Got you.
There's a wide spectrum of stout. People think Guinness is like the stout to have,
Yeah.
but it's literally one example of
Many, yeah.
thousands.
Yeah. But it's probably the number one if you would ask any beer drinker, or not any beer drinker, but the populace. Like everybody always goes to.
It's marketing, right? Like,
Yeah.
They just understand because it's present, and they have 100 years head start on us.
Yeah. Very true.
But this Eukanot's, it's as a single hop beer goes, I think it's not bad. I don't know if I really enjoy smash beers or single hop beers anymore.
What is a smash beer?
Single malt, single hop. This is
Okay.
technically not a smash. This is a single hop, though.
Oh, okay.
I think I'm just getting bored of single hop beers.
Oh, okay,
I've
got
had
you.
enough of them now, and I'm like, yeah, you're okay.
I like in my non-educated mind, smash beers would be like, I could smash a lot of these.
I'm gonna crush it.
But it does taste like something I could drink, like 4 or 5 of. I think.
You would drink 4 or 5?
Yeah. I think for me, like I always like a lighter beer, and as soon as I get into something heavier and darker, I'm like either like want to run to the bathroom and drop it off, or I can't. Like I used to like drinking like a thicker stout beer, but now it's just I can't even. And I don't know why, but
That's your craft beer journey, man.
yeah. And I was there at one point. Like I used to love Guinness and stout beers and all that. Now I'm getting more and more particular as I'm getting older. So,
As your taste buds age, as you as a person, a human being, age, your what your preferences are will change. Will shift.
That's interesting.
Younger people tend to run towards more like sweeter, more approachable. Kind of like you see those sugar poppy alcohol. Alcopops.
Yes.
The root beer that's spiked with.
Oh, for sure. I remember in high school, a lot of the girls drinking. It was like a vodka pop. And it would I remember drinking 2 of them, and they made my teeth go soft.
I remember like Mike's Hard and Smirnoff Ice.
Smirnoff Ice, that was it. Yeah, and I remember like a girlfriend of mine. She was like, "Oh, have a couple," and like I'd smash beers all the time, and so I'd drink like 4 or 5 of them, and all of a sudden like I could like indent my teeth if I pushed on. It was bad.
I just remember getting like heartburn.
Oh, gut rot, and yeah. That's the other thing about drinking beer nowadays that I'm really like conscious about, like what's gonna do to my gut later. How's the hangover with this? Like even like there's like I have a buddy that's like, don't drink this brand, and this brand because they have all these carcinogens in it and la 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 la. Yeah, man, I don't know. It seems like a minefield drinking beers to this day, but this one's good. I like it.
I would have pretzels with it.
Pretzels?
Like
okay, yeah.
Big pretzels, Lancasters.
Yeah. With like a mustard kind of.
Yeah. And maybe a little sausage. Or they even have this nacho platter, this nacho chip platter. Lobster.
Yeah.
Just stuff that in your face and rinse it down with this.
Just
kind of all played. Because I think salty foods would go really well with this.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, not pizza.
I think pizza would go great with this.
Yes. Oh, for sure. Yeah, pizza goes good there.
Even like fried fish, like if you're doing fish and chips.
Oh, damn. Yeah. No, I like that.
Because when you have that, like you just smell it. Yeah.
That with a nice battered fish would be great.
Yeah, a little bit of haddock. That's where my mind goes. I think I want that pepper plays nice with it.
I wish I was that smart. Like most of my life was like, oh, I'm gonna get a 6-pack of Coors Light and buy a hamburger from McDonald's.
Now you're living a better life.
Yeah, now I am living a better life, and I need people like yourself to guide me in such places.
Well, that's what I hope people get from the podcast is
for sure
they can think about beer a little bit, but not too hard. It doesn't make the brain smoke, and then they can say, oh, well, maybe I will try pretzels, just like you said.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. And I think when like people like yourself or that can lead people down that you get away all the thinking from us, right? And I think that's sometimes what it is, because I'll go to like a bar or something and they're like, when they start talking about like pairing this with that, like I always think that was bullshit and be like, fuck it, it's just food and fucking drink. And now like when I have friends that do lead me along that path, so much better. But I just don't want to do the thinking. I'm like, I can paint something amazing, but I can't figure out what the hell to drink and eat. I need to be told what to drink and eat.
You know who's a really good food guide? Alina Young from Takeaway Gourmet. They're on 13th Avenue.
Oh.
It's a cheese shop. I walk in with I'm like, Alina, I've got this beer. I want to pair it with some great cheese for my mom.
Oh, okay, got you. Yeah.
She's like, get some of this, get some of this, get some of that.
Awesome.
Some little bricks of cheese. Like for my mom's birthday, I told her, I'm like, my mom's a red wine drinker, and I'm going to buy her a bunch of stout because red wine and stout
goes well.
Same family. And my mom, she emailed me like 2 days later. She's like, oh my God, this cheese is amazing. I'm like, yeah, because Alina knows.
Yeah, what's up? And yeah. You always need that, I think, with food. I think like not too many, unless you're like a professional cook or a professional beer brewer or something. Yeah.
You collect those experts.
Yes.
You don't have to know everything about everything, but if you know somebody who knows a lot deep dive information, like granular, you can they're like your human Google.
Oh, for sure, definitely. Yeah, I've always tend to like, look to Google and that kind of stuff. And like, when you throw things at Google, sometimes you get a lot of bullshit back. You need to really have a human behind what you're asking as opposed to just the internet.
Well, that's kind of how Mark and I got to know each other, is because I found out he really liked beer.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So I'd ask him a million questions. I got his phone number, and I would like text him. I'd be like, oh, I'm having this for supper tonight. What should I try? What should I get? And he was very polite and kind and tolerated me bugging him.
But I was texting him every other day.
Yeah. Or I'd like poke my head over the cubicle, because we worked in government together.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yes.
I'd be like, I'm going to try and roast a tri-tip steak. Or,
Yeah.
This and that, and I'd come back and be like, oh, I had this problem with my barbecue, and I had this problem with the meat, and he would immediately know what was wrong and how to fix it.
Oh wow, yeah.
Or he was like helping me with marinades.
Yeah.
Try this beer marinade, and I'd do it. It's like living my best life.
Yes, awesome. That's great. That's awesome, man.
So the art expert. That's why I'm bringing you here.
Oh, awesome. Yes, I am. I do have a good taste in art, so yes.
How'd you get started, man?
Well, I think like anybody, you know, like as a kid, I just liked drawing and painting and things like that. The interesting story is that when I was younger, like I was raised by my mom for a while, and then my grandparents kind of took over. And after that, like my mom would tell me these stories of when I used to live with her, how she had to like put paper all along the bottoms of the walls because I would just write on them. And that led into like me later, you know, in grade, I think I started doing graffiti in like grade 6 and 7.
You were one of those little graffiti badasses?
Yeah, but at that time there wasn't like really a lot of taggers. There was just like vandals, like, you know, like there was nothing really artistic. And yeah, so that's kind of how I got my start, is just like writing on shit.
Did you ever get caught?
Oh yeah, definitely. I have like interesting stories of being like chased from cops and dogs and, you know, just everything in between. It was a really like, it's interesting because I'm also an educator, so like, you know, when I go out to places and talk about my past and, you know, what I teach and everything, like teachers always like, please tell them that graffiti is bad and that, you know, they shouldn't be doing this. And, you know, in my head, I'm always like, wow, you know what? It was really fun. like you don't know that, like, and I don't know what it is. Like when we just write on something, like sometimes people feel really guilty about it and they're like, oh, I should never have done that. Like, why did I do that? It was someone else's property. But I don't know, like there was just something as a wild, rebellious teen where it was almost like a dog peeing on a hydrant, you know, and like the dog clearly loves doing it, right? Like that's why he's so excited to run around the block and mark his whole territory.
Here's
like,
my calling card.
Yeah, exactly. And that's like kind of how it was for me growing up. So that was my first introduction to art. But then doing it, I started like looking at graffiti artists in like New York, and not that I'd ever go there, but just like, you know, through like graffiti magazines and whatnot. And then I started really appreciating the art form. But I was also into comics as well, you know, and so I was always like trying to like redraw Spawn and, you know, all those like classic characters. And
so did you ever escape the cops when they like chase you down?
Oh yeah. There was lots of times they didn't get me. There was tons of times where like we ran and like through like
they're shaking their fists at you. We'll get you, Josh.
Yes. Oh, definitely. And you know, and I remember one time there was actually a dog that bit me in the ass. That was a really good story. I was in a train yard. But we had been painting the trains. We were painting actually downtown, and we had run across into the train yard, and there was this dog that was following me, and it literally, like when I was like in the train yard, I was going up onto one of the freight cars, and the dog literally jumped up in the air as I was like climbing up it and bit me in the ass. And yeah, no.
So you started climbing faster.
Way faster, and then jumped on the top and started running across.
Was he the rail yard dog, or was he just
no, it was just like it was a canine dog from the cops.
Oh, from the cops.
Yeah, they chased us from downtown all the way into like the yard, and then they chased us like it was like a good 2 hours that they were chasing us, but they never caught us, thankfully. But then the other time we got caught, we were just like we were painting kind of like where the state is, or not the state, by Don's photo there. We were just painting in this in-between spot, and it was just like, you know, a dead end, and we just got arrested and, you know, couldn't run anywhere. And just kind of, and at that point too, I was getting older, and, you know, I was just like, I should just accept this. I'm not going to be running anymore. But that was all, and mind you, that was like when I was just 18, right? And so all like, yeah, and then I got older, didn't do it anymore. But
I think I'm of two minds. I think if it's good street art and it looks great, I'm like, that's cool. But if it's just like a crappy scribble that you can't even read, I'm like, what was that?
Yeah, I think art is always in the eyes of the beholder. Like sometimes when you look at like a good, what we call it in the graffiti culture, as a hand style, right? And hand styles is just like typography, right? And when you see like a great sign painter and it's really clean and nice, and you're like, oh shit, that person, like, you know, they got talent. And then you see a graffiti artist, and the graffiti artist has that eye to be like, they have talent inside of their strokes and everything like that, and you can appreciate it. Somebody might say like, oh, that looks like scribbling. And then the next person might be like, oh, that looks like beautiful art. But trust me, there are a lot of scribblers out there. But I always, like, me and my friends now, like, we call it epic graffiti, where it's just like, you'll see like something written in like, a public washroom that's just like, absolute horrid, like a message where you're like, not like, not call this number for a good time or anything like that, because that's played out, but someone writes like a really filthy nice joke. And that's what I like to see. Crude little, like, dick drawings and things like that. I'm, 36-year-old man that finds that funny, but
it still appeals.
It still appeals to me for some reason. I don't do it, but I can be an appreciator of it.
What would you describe your style as? Graffiti seems like a big...
Yeah, there's like, I think that like, a lot of, like in my earlier years, I would focus in on lettering and kind of follow that. I still love lettering, like even in tattooing, like there's a lot of like letter artists that I look at and I love their work and I play around a bit with that. But like as a theme that I think I follow a lot is probably like, drawing either portraits, animals, and kind of, a little bit of having like an abstraction in kind of my elements of what I bring into that. But yeah, I don't know if like I would ever be like, I'm a traditional tattoo artist, or I'm a new school tattoo artist, or I'm a new school graffiti artist. Like I'm kind of going by things that I like. And I like animals, I'm good at drawing them, so I just kind of do that. And it just, I think whatever an artist does, as long as they're happy doing it, screw all the labels and all that kind of stuff. But it is nice sometimes to be classified as certain things. But, I think the biggest classifying is like either you're enjoying it or you're not.
One of the guys... You know him, Joel Hustack.
Yes.
He came on the podcast previously. He's done a label for us for beer.
Yes, Joel's
We
great.
have these moose toys for our office that we were shooting for Moose Jaw. Oh. And he looks at them and he goes, man, these would be really great for me to help me draw a moose later on. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like a little toy moose is going to help you? He's like, yeah, it's great for referencing.
Yes. Oh, for sure.
And
definitely.
I never thought of that before.
Oh, yeah. No, like a lot of people, like when you draw from real life, it's so much easier than trying to think of like things on the fly, because you can play with lighting and all that stuff. But yeah, no, that's awesome. But I've met Joel. Joel's like, he's a very technical guy. So he's probably always thinking like that. So yeah, that's awesome.
He'll say things to me. I'm like, I never thought about that. Like we had the alien spaceship is going to be on the new label.
Yes.
And the original version had a Danish being sucked up into the sky, like a pastry.
Yes.
He's like, I'm not quite happy with the pastry. He's like, we need to figure this out. We need something new. So we're like, get rid of the pastry. And I'm like, what about crop circles? Like, in the wheat, I can't draw that for crap. But but you can.
Yes.
And then he's like, whoa, what if we take it and we make it a hop cone, just like with Rebellion's logo? And I'm like, oh man, you're brilliant.
Well, that's a big thing with artists, is that you don't always have to be a technical person, right? Because like I sit down, like I have lots of friends that are great creative thinkers, and they'll like, and we'll be sitting down and they'll pitch ideas to me. And I've used a lot of my friends' ideas. Mind you, I don't credit them on the walls or anything like that. But in conversation, I definitely will, right? But yeah, that's the interesting part though too, and the artists notice that, like, all ideas don't come from ourselves, right? Like the strongest pieces always come from collaboration, right? And when you can get many minds on something, and I know like it's kind of counterintuitive because sometimes people say there's too many cooks in the kitchen, and I do agree with that. But like when you get like a little creative hub happening, things can be like firecrackers, and you have all these great ideas. Like when I started doing graffiti, when I was serious about doing like murals and stuff, I was the older generation of graffiti artists, and then there was all of these like younger graffiti artists that we were hanging around with that were still like in the streets and painting, and we actually had like a party house for a while, and we'd all sit around and have beers and smoke weed, and just come up with like the most amazing ideas and concepts, right? And like, and the thing was is that we just bounce ideas and like, you know, and we all grew from that, right? So like when people kind of isolate themselves, I find as artists, it's sometimes like people are like, you know, you hear about a band going off to like Germany and some remote hill, and you know, I could never do that as an artist. I'd rather submerge myself with other people and kind of listen to their ideas and kind of bring that out, because you know, just even with like, especially with like tattooing, when people come into the shop and, you know, like sometimes people are really creative thinkers, right? And like get that from the conversation. And I'm like, okay, this person really needs to, like, I need to draw more ideas from them so that something that they give is going to be of value when I draw it. And then there's other times where like someone comes in, they're like, "I'll do whatever you want." And then that's sometimes the hardest ones to do. The blank page, because I'm just like, they're like, I like, you know, I like your animals. It's like, well, which animal? Like, what? Like, you know, like you got to figure out what's there. So yeah, I'm always up for collaborations with people and getting more than just my ideas onto something.
When did you kind of feel you were going from maybe illegitimate to legitimate? When did you go legit?
When I got arrested. Because when I got arrested, my grandparents, they were raising me at the time, and they were just like, "Josh, you're on the wrong path." And, you know, I just, yeah. And then the cops are really hard on me. Like, they're like, "You're going to go to jail if you keep doing this," which I wouldn't have. Like, they were just like throwing fear in my face. But I remember the first time that I ever had painted a legal mural. And that was like where I could take my time on it and really invest. It was actually on the Brandy's wall. So like I've been a part of that project for, this year was year 17. And so this was in 2002. Me and my friends, we got to paint that wall. And I remember sitting there and just being in awe of like, oh shit, like when I'm not running away, I can do a way better job. So then all of a sudden, like that started to kind of snowball. And then I started getting other projects, and then I was like working a part-time job, and then, you know, then the part-time job went away, and then I just doing murals full-time and teaching full-time, like doing art workshops and stuff like that. So yeah, that's when things started to change for me.
So now you're getting to give back. You're getting to help younger artists come up.
Yeah, oh, for sure. Which is always like a minefield too, right? Because like you want to still be at 36. You want to be the cool guy and like be like, oh, okay, you know, like I got to tell you that like, you know, that you can't be an illegal graffiti artist. But at the same time, you know, like it's almost like a rite of passage for some kids, I think, you know, to get in trouble and to cause shit and to do all that, but it's like, just don't cause too much shit and like make sure you're alive in the end.
What pieces are you most proud of?
I just like, I was at the Brandy's Wall doing it this year, and a friend of mine who's a teacher at a school brought all of his students, and he's like a hip hop beat producer and stuff, so he's a pretty hip guy, and the kids really enjoy him. And that was the one question one of the kids asked me. And I realized what I do when people ask that question. I always say, whatever I'm working on right now. So for me, for the last mural that I did would be the Brandy's one. I think that was kind of like, why I like that mural is because it was just like, it's a kind of tie in between graffiti art and tattooing. And that's something that in my kind of career right now, I'm like bridging that gap. Because like as a tattoo artist, you know, like everybody has that kind of question, like when they come up into the shop, they're like, what are you, a traditional artist, or are you a black and gray artist? And that's something that sometimes I have a hard time kind of pinning down, because like I'm just like I said, I just like doing what I like that stimulates my mind.
Yeah.
And so for that piece that I did for Brandy's, I felt it was a really good mesh in between like kind of tattoo kind of theme, because there was like peonies and a tiger. But it wasn't like Japanese, but it wasn't like, but it was more so like my street art, and like when you see my animals and stuff. So it still had my fingerprint on it. Like I always like, one compliment that you hear from so many artists is, or that I hear about so many artists is that if you look at the work and there's no signature, you can tell whose that is. And there's certain artists that I've worked with that I'm just so envious of that, because sometimes I can be very fluid in what I do, and it's like, I don't have like an indefinite style, but I've been getting that a little bit more, and so that piece was kind of solidifying that a bit. So
that identity.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that would be my answer for that one, is like my current work, but that piece in particular, because I feel like I'm bridging my gap in between tattooing and painting murals.
People want to talk to you about getting a tattoo. Can they contact you, or are you just fully booked up forever?
No. Books are always open. I'm not like one of those people that's like, oh, I'm booked up for 3 years. No, my books are always open. People can get at me on Facebook. They can look up Joshua True Goff. And then I have an Instagram as well, which I'll tell you after. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, that was the interesting thing about my name, is that years and years ago, I'd went on Facebook, and like I was so surprised how many Josh Goffs there are out there. There's and the funny thing is that I like landed up like going and like befriending them all. And then there's like this, like, I don't know if you've ever heard like we were talking before about comic books, but like that's like, do you remember the School of Richards? Like I was kind of building like all these so that, yeah, anyways, so yeah, that's where, long story short.
Somebody created a Matt Barton appreciation Facebook group.
Oh, really?
So they invited all the Matt Bartons.
It is so weird how that exists. All these people live, thankfully, all across, like, away from me, and no one's confusing. So I'm always wondering, like, I'm like, oh, like, are these people like bad people? Like, are they gonna like, like someone's like, oh, Josh Goff, you're such an asshole. Like, it's like, no, that wasn't me.
I would show up to job interviews, and people had Googled me, but they would get a different Matt Barton who had like long red heavy metal hair. And he has like a YouTube show about video games.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And he's like a professor in the United States, and they're like, wow, you're not the heavy metal hair guy.
Yeah. What happened to the hair, man?
I'm like, is this why I'm not getting job interviews?
Because this guy's just
they're Googling
besmirching your name?
Professor video game.
Oh, that's awesome.
I mean, if they actually did find me on social media, it'd probably discount me.
Yeah, there you go.
Again, so I just put my feet in my mouth a lot.
Yeah, no, so do I. Yeah, I'm tasting my toes all the time.
Toe jam. Well, I want to thank you for your time today.
Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks for having me. Great.
Cheers. Rebels, thanks for tuning in this week. If you want to find the latest news about Rebellion Brewing, be sure to check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and Untapped. I'm going to include a bunch of links to Josh's stuff so you can find him on social media. Thank you for joining the Rebellion.